Welcome back to Gleeman's Lullaby. The deep dive today is into the beginning of the Dragon Reborn, specifically the opening chapters, which we're calling Episode 1, The Flame in the Void.
And that title is, it's just perfect, isn't it? It really encapsulates where we are in the story.
It really does.
We've just come off this massive world-changing event at Fall, where Rand publicly declares himself, and now instead of more chaos, we get this quiet.
A very tense quiet.
Exactly. Everything is pressurized, isolated. That atmosphere is the void. It's the absence of peace, the quiet before the real storm breaks. And the flame is, of course, Rand.
Absolutely. So our mission today is to really analyze that extreme tension. We're with Rand and his companions high up in the mountains of mist, and we want to go beyond just a plot summary. We need to understand the metaphysical forces that are driving him. The pattern itself seems to be accelerating, and at the same time, we need to expose these frightening political forces that are now mobilizing against him hundreds of leagues away.
Yeah, and the sources we have for this part of the book, they highlight this by juxtaposing two totally different kinds of danger.
Okay.
You have the tight, almost claustrophobic camp dynamics where the danger feels instant and really personal.
Right, like Rand could lose control at any second.
Precisely. And then you contrast that against these grand, terrifying political machinations happening in palaces and White Cloak fortresses. It's a study in contrasts. High-stakes isolation versus high-stakes conspiracy.
And it's all aimed at the same person.
All aimed at one very stressed-out shepherd from the Two Rivers.
Okay, let's start there then. Let's unpack this remote camp high in the mountains of mist. We're in Chapter 1, Waiting. And when you drop into this chapter, the first thing that hits you is just the absolute vigilance. We're with Perrin and Uno and Reagan, Masima, this tiny band of Shienarans.
Yeah.
And they are not relaxing.
Not at all. Their daily duty isn't a peaceful mountain retreat. They are actively hunting, but not for game.
No, they're hunting the Dark One's eyes. Spies.
Specifically ravens and crows. And this immediately establishes that even though they are in this incredibly remote location, they are under constant surveillance. The shadow sees them, and it's moving closer.
And the book just paints such a grim picture of this Borderlands mindset. I mean, we see Perrin taking aim at a blackbird, and he asks this question so softly. Does it have to report, or does he see what it sees?
Chilling. That one question just elevates the threat from a simple spy network to something far more sinister, far more existential.
Right. It's the difference between being spied on by a person and being watched directly by this cosmic evil.
Exactly. And Reagan, the younger Shienaran, he provides the common practical belief.
The less scary version.
The less scary version.
Right.
He says the Raven has to report probably to a half-man Emergent-Rawl, but then he immediately undercuts that with this terrifying piece of lore. He says, Light, if Heartsbane saw what the Raven saw, we would all have been dead before we reached the mountains.
And those names. Heartsbane, Soulsbane, Lord of the Grave. It's a constant reminder of who they're dealing with. They won't even say his true name, Shaitan, for fear of drawing his attention.
So you have this layering of fear. The mundane daily task of shooting crows is combined with this existential threat of the Dark Lord's direct vision. It's what daily life is like under constant grinding paranoia.
And the Borderlanders, they just embody this. Uno with his perpetual frown and that painted-on frowning eye patch, he's constantly snapping at them to keep their minds on the bloody task at hand.
It shows the cost, doesn't it? Even for these hardened soldiers, this constant awareness of the shadow is just, it's psychologically exhausting. They're always on edge.
And the camp itself is anything but stable. It's become this weird magnet for the unusual, mostly because of Moiraine.
The Avis Sedai.
She's gathering women, supposedly for the White Tower, though, we suspect there's more to it. And Pelen is often the one sent to meet these new arrivals. They seem to arrive by fate, not by map.
And this is where we see the first really clear instance of the pattern just pulling threads into the weave. We get the arrival of Leia, a Tuathan woman.
A tinker,
which is so anomalous. The Tuathan, the people of the road, they adhere strictly to the way of the leaf. It's a doctrine of absolute nonviolence.
So what is one of them doing in a militarized camp in the mountains dedicated to hunting the shadow?
Yeah.
It's immediately jarring.
It is. And when Perrin asks her the practical question, how do you find your way here? Her answer is so hesitant and strange. It points directly to some kind of metaphysical compulsion.
What does she say?
She just sort of shrugs and says, I knew that if I came this way, someone would find me and take me to her. I have news for her.
It doesn't sound like navigation. It sounds like destiny was dragging her there.
She couldn't not come. And that's Moiraine's expertise at work. She understands where the pattern is tugging things, and she just stands at the nexus point waiting for the pieces to fall into her lap.
She doesn't have to seek them out.
The Tavarin effect does the seeking for her. And this brings us right to the agonizing ethical core of this section, the cruel nature of destiny as seen through Min's eyes.
Right. Min is there in the camp, and she's struggling with her viewings, especially being so close to Rand. Her ability means she sees these glimpses of the future, these metaphysical truths attached to people.
And she's seen something very specific and very bad about Leia.
Perrin notes it. He sees Leia and remembers Min's viewing. Blood on her face.
It's such specific, tragic foreshadowing. It's not vague. It points to a violent, inescapable end. And Perrin, who is always this deeply moral, protective figure, he immediately enters this agonizing ethical dilemma.
This is where the book just shines, I think. It's not a simple fantasy trope about prophecy. It's a deep philosophical question about knowledge and agency.
The problem is so acute. If destiny is fixed, does the merciful choice become the one that preserves dignity, even at the cost of safety?
And Perrin realizes he has this terrible knowledge that he can't act on. He can't change the outcome.
We get his internal thoughts, and they are just gut-wrenching. He asks himself, what can I do? If I tell Leia, if I make her believe somehow, she'll live her last days in fear and it will change nothing.
So he concludes he can't do it. He can't inflict that fear on her, even though he knows what's coming. He chooses to preserve her dignity over a futile attempt at prevention.
And Min adds that it could mean an attack on the camp, which just adds to the immediate danger, but it doesn't change Perrin's dilemma. The fact that he chooses not to destroy her remaining peace, it's devastating. It confirms that the pattern, while fixed, is certainly not merciful.
It just is.
It just is.
It's the ultimate tragic heroism, really. Choosing silence to spare a doomed soul unnecessary suffering. That's a huge emotional burden for a blacksmith who just wants to go home.
And speaking of things compelled by the pattern, we have to talk about the other unexpected ally in the camp, Loyal, the Ogier. He's huge, described as having to duck low under the hut lintels, and his presence outside a steading is just... It's highly unusual. Ogier almost never leave their homes. They can fall victim to the longing.
Loyal's character is such a wonderful paradox. Perrin finds him completely harmless. He wonders how anyone could be frightened of him for long.
But the text subtly notes that some of the old stories call them fierce and implacable as enemies.
A reminder that not everything is what it seems. Sometimes the deepest power rests with the quietest beings.
His whole presence is just this constant rumbling reminder of deep history and power. His voice is described as being like distant thunder. And the fact that he's there alongside a blacksmith, an Aes Sedai, a gleeman, it's the clearest signal yet that reality is warping around them.
It's a gathering of incompatibilities.
All compelled into the same space by an unseen force.
It really feels like destiny is physically tugging at them. I mean, what in the pattern drew a peaceful Ogier out of his steading and into a Shienaran war camp?
Well, it's the irresistible force of the Tavern effect, and that brings us right to the heart of what's driving this entire group.
Okay, let's unpack this. It's a essential piece of lore. We talk about Rand, Mat, and Perrin as Tavern, but what does that truly mean? Beyond just, being important. Can you give us the deep definition?
So, a tavern is essentially an individual around whom the wheel of time weaves the pattern into an impossibly tight knot.
A knot. I like that.
They're not just destined for greatness. They are the focal points that force the pattern to align the lives of everyone around them, whether they want it or not, toward a single critical purpose.
So the threads of destiny literally tighten and pull towards them.
Sometimes violently. And the book confirms this is an extremely uncomfortable experience for anyone caught in that weave. Min, who probably understands this better than anyone, calls them puppets, who bounce people around like sacks of grain.
That's a terrifying loss of agency, especially for strong-willed people.
Absolutely. It means your life is being radically altered for external, unknown reasons. And we see direct evidence of this tugging on Loyal.
The Ogier.
Yeah. Min asks him if a tavern tugged him along, forced him to leave his steading, and Loyal gets intensely engrossed in studying his pipe. He can barely admit it. He just mutters the core truth of his compulsion. I just wanted to see the groves the Ogier planted, just to see the groves.
So his personal, quiet desire was basically hijacked by the needs of the pattern.
Hijacked and amplified. Poor Loyal just wanted a botanical tour, and now he's trapped in a Shienaran war camp with the Dragon Reborn facing Shadow Spawn.
It really drives home the helplessness, It's not about their free will, it's about their forced utility to the pattern.
And Kara mirrors this perfectly. He articulates the frustration of the tavern themselves. He just bursts out, I didn't ask for it, I did not ask for it.
He feels it too.
Oh, absolutely. He acknowledges the brutal reality of their bond. He says, we are tied together, it seems, aren't we, Rand? Maybe not ever.
Maybe not ever.
What? Yeah. Maybe not ever be free of it? Maybe not ever go home? The possibility of ever returning to a normal life is gone. That phrase, maybe not ever, that's the true price they pay.
That concept, the loss of the possibility of normality, is so powerful. But the tavern effect isn't the only source of chaos here.
Yeah.
Rand himself, the Dragon Reborn, is now the primary source of instability.
Acute instability. Especially concerning his use of the One Power. And this is where we have to dive into the taint and Saidin.
Right.
We see Rand wrestling internally with the male half of the true source, Saidin. And his internal monologue it's visceral. He says, I can feel the taint even before I touch it. The dark one I'll taint, like a thin coat of vileness trying to hide the light.
So it's not just about feeling madness. He feels this physical revulsion, but at the same time, this irresistible pull. What does the book suggest this contamination feels like? Is it just pain, or is it something more complicated?
It's absolutely a corrupted ecstasy. And that's what makes the choice to resist nearly impossible.
Corrupted ecstasy. Wow.
When he reaches for Saidin, he gets this intense, life-affirming power that makes him feel invincible. But it's overlaid with this vileness. It's a poison that grants incredible vitality. He admits that life without Saidin was a pale copy. Anything else was a wan imitation.
He's addicted.
He's addicted to a power that is actively driving him insane, and he knows it. The taint is described as sticky, smothering, foul. A physical manifestation of evil trying to latch onto pure energy.
And the conflict is desperate. It's immediate. He argues constantly with Moiraine because he cannot stop himself from reaching for the power, despite the sickness it brings.
And he has this fear of losing control, of the madness that consumed all his predecessors. He thinks, what if I reach out and catch nothing? That loss of control would mean he has succumbed to the taint completely.
And the consequences of this internal battle are felt physically by everyone else. This is that localized chaos you mentioned.
Yes, we get a very specific, almost comedic if it weren't so painful, anecdote from Min.
Right. She's bruised and disgruntled, stirring a kettle of stew, and she complains directly.
She says, Rand spilled half of it on the fire with his. What right does he have to bounce us around like sacks of grain? And she mentions a bruise on her cheek and winces as she rubs the seat of her breeches.
So the metaphysical forces of the wheel are manifesting as kitchen appliance trauma.
Pretty much. That physical disturbance, Rand's uncontrolled channeling, or maybe just violent, abrupt movements as he fights the power, that's the localized chaos. It's not a literal earthquake, but a camp-shaking tantrum of destiny.
So being near Rand now means being physically affected by his struggle. He's literally bouncing people around, just like Min said.
Which makes Moiraine's presence so essential, but also so fraught with risk. And Perrin, witnessing all of this, he challenges Moiraine directly. He questions her motivation.
He asks her, do you believe, Moiraine, that he's really the Dragon Reborn? Or do you just think he's someone you can use before the One Power kills him or drives him mad?
It's a fantastic question from Perrin, and Moiraine's reply is a masterful expression of fatalism and conviction. She doesn't offer reassurance.
No easy answers.
Just a crisp, unsettling reply. He is what he is. Her core belief is that the pattern will ultimately force him onto the right path, regardless of his own resistance. They are all just passengers on the speeding coach of Rand's destiny.
And she's the one who understands the destination.
She thinks she does. And this acceleration, this explosive instability, is what forces Rand to make a catastrophic choice. He decides to try and seize control of his own fate.
He flees.
He flees. And that leads us directly to his sudden, desperate flight eastward.
Okay, so Rand's decision to flee is the central action that launches the entire book. We really need to understand the psychology behind it. He leaves the, relative safety of the camp, of Moiraine and Lan, and it's not out of heroism.
No, it's out of profound exhaustion and desperation.
He's heading toward Tear, the ancient city that holds the key to his identity. But his internal monologue, it reveals he's seeking an end more than a triumph.
Yes. He says, if I am the dragon, there'll be an end to it. And if I am not, if it's all a lie, there'll be an end to that too. An end.
He just wants the uncertainty to stop, even if the resolution is his own destruction.
It's the ultimate act of forced agency. Moiraine is convinced the pattern will guide him, but Rand's action here is pure defiance of her guidance. He is going where the prophecy demands, but he is going alone.
On his own terms.
Precisely, because he fears becoming a puppet controlled by the White Tower.
And he flees with this.
Yeah.
Operational clarity. He shows off these sharp survival instincts he's honed. He consciously severs his contact with Saidin.
Which is a painful, drab process he likens to giving up life's breath. But he does it because he knows that holding onto the power means he can be tracked. Any skilled channeler could find him.
So he's choosing to be weak and vulnerable. He's relinquishing the one thing that makes him safe, just to buy a few hours.
And then he wades into an icy stream, covering his scent, breaking his trail. He's relying entirely on his own innate survival skills.
It's a moment of profound vulnerability. But that vulnerability doesn't last long.
Not at all. He's immediately pursued. He hears the distant, fearful howls of dogs, implied to be dark hounds or some other shadow spawn. The Dark One is already aware of his flight.
And this is where we see that crucial psychological shift that defines Rand for the rest of this book. He stops, he peers into the darkness, and he snarls a challenge into the night.
Hunt me if you will. I am no easy meat, no more.
That's the moment the sheep herder officially dies.
I think so. This is the Dragon Reborn announcing his presence. He's turning from the passively hunted into the active pursuer of his own fate. It's defiance in the face of what looks like inevitable destruction.
His defiance is palpable, but his friends are already getting these terrifying warnings about the path he's chosen, specifically through Perrin's dreams.
Right. Perrin is developing his own unique connection to the dream world, and he's basically getting a sneak preview of the danger waiting for Rand and Tyr.
And these aren't just ordinary dreams, are they?
No, they're glimpses into Teleranhrit, the world of dreams. The pattern isn't just communicating with Perrin, it's showing him this terrifying convergence of threats. His dreams foreshadow the three major conflicts converging on Rand.
What's the first one?
The first vision is highly symbolic. It relates directly to the climax of the book. He sees Rand reaching for a crystal sword, which we know is Kalendor, the great sangreal, while at the same time, a net drops over him.
A trap. So the moment he grasps his supposed destiny, the ultimate power symbol of the dragon, he will be trapped.
The capture follows the triumph. It suggests that the very act of becoming the Dragon Reborn is itself a trap, a dangerous pivot point where forces waiting for him will spring their attack.
Okay, and the second vision.
The second is even more chilling. It links Rand's path directly to the source of evil. Perrin sees Rand walking down into a huge hole in a black mountain. It's a horrifying, unmistakable vision of Sheol Ghul, the Dark One's prison, filled with a reddish glare from vast fires.
So his race to Tear is leading him into direct, intimate conflict with the Great Lord of the Dark himself, or at least his most powerful agents.
It implies the battle is moving from the battlefield to the metaphysical plane of the pattern itself.
And finally, the third dream.
Perrin sees Rand confronting Seanchan. This is critically important. Rand is trying to escape the chaos of the West, the White Cloaks, the Seanchan, all of it, by going east to Tear.
But he can't.
The pattern shows Perrin that he can't escape his fate just by running. The conflicts of the West, particularly the Seanchan, who represent this foreign imperial power and the ultimate enslavement of channelers, they will follow him. They'll converge upon him in Tear.
So Rand is running straight into a triple ambush. The Shadow, the Seanchan, and the trap of the prophecy itself.
He's running toward what he believes is an end, while the pattern shows Perrin that there are three simultaneous deadly traps waiting. It's a terrifying prognosis for the opening of a book.
And while all this is happening, while Rand is freezing in the mountains, the political world hundreds of miles away is reacting to the news from Falm.
Yes, we have to turn our attention to the horrifying political forces mobilizing, and that means diving into the prologue. We need to focus first on the chilling figure of Pedron Niall, the Lord Captain Commander of the Children of Light.
The White Cloaks. Niall is this ancient, powerful figure who has ruled them for decades. The description of him emphasizes his cunning and his age. His skin is thin as scraped parchment, his body all bone and sinew.
But crucially, nothing of frailty about him.
Yeah.
He is pure, calculated intellectual ruthlessness disguised in this fragile shell.
He's a master strategist. He's sitting in Amador, looking at a drawing of Rand al'Thor, the tall, gray-eyed youth with reddish hair, and he is just dissecting the threats to his power structure with surgical precision.
He gets the news from Falm, but he just dismisses the Seanchan who fought there. He calls them another rabble of dark friends gathered to support a false dragon.
That dismissal is so important for understanding his strategy. He understands that his primary enemy isn't actually Rand.
Yeah.
His enemy is the chaos unleashed by channeling. He fears the Aes Sedai above all else because they're the only political body that can challenge his claim to absolute morality and control.
He needs a prolonged crisis. And to maintain that crisis and maximize White Cloak power, he implements this truly shocking and calculated policy regarding this false dragon.
This is the core insight of the prologue, really. He orders the Questioner, Child Caridin, to hunt Rand, but with a horrifying strategic twist.
What is it?
Caridin must ensure the false dragon does not die.
Wow, not what you'd expect from the head of the White Cloaks. So let's get into the political implications of that. Why keep him alive?
A dead false dragon creates a martyr. It ends the crisis. People stop focusing on the White Cloaks and go back to normal life.
But a living, contained false dragon
Is the perfect justification for total White Cloak authority across the Western lands. It justifies massive recruitment, higher taxes, territorial control. Nail's goal is power consolidation, not justice. And Rand alive serves that goal perfectly.
And Niall is terrifyingly pragmatic about it. He gives Caridin explicit permission to use his knives in the dark if any Aes Sedai try to oppose Rand.
So assassination and political sabotage are just accepted tools within the highest ranks of the Children of the Light. The organization that claims to serve the light is openly embracing the tools of the shadow for political gain.
But the chilling irony here is that Caridin isn't just serving Niall, the supposed servant of the light. He is secretly serving a far deeper evil. This is the horrifying revelation about the corruption within the light.
He is completely compelled and utterly terrified by a Myrddraal, a half-man. It shows that the highest ranks of the Children of Light are completely compromised by the shadow.
The Myrddraal warns him that half-men rode shadows like horses, and that no wall could keep them out. The sense of absolute inescapable threat is just palpable.
The description of Caridin's terror is designed to show you the true cost of serving the shadow. He's physically slammed against a wall by the Myrddraal, fighting for breath, and can only manage to say, I hear and obey, into the carpet.
A high-ranking official, utterly powerless, subject to physical and mental torture.
And the book makes it brutally clear that this corruption instantly manifests as abuse. It's contagious. As soon as the half-man leaves Caridin, consumed by this terror and rage that he can't release against his true master,
He takes it out on someone else.
he physically strikes his body servant Sharbin, who's just bringing him fruit.
That's a psychological masterstroke. The man who serves terror immediately becomes terror itself. He exercises power over the weak and innocent. It shows the immediate contaminating effect of the shadow on a person's soul. Fear turns instantly into the brutal exercise of domination.
The light isn't just compromised, it's actively poisoned from within.
And the entire conspiracy is fueled by the shadow's insidious informant, a man who seems to know far too much about our heroes, Ordeith.
Whose name, Wormwood, is highly significant.
Biblical, a sign of bitterness and poison. Ordeith is the ultimate harbinger of bad news, disguised as useful intelligence. He reveals Rand's true, seemingly innocuous origin, the Two Rivers, and provides the names of his friends, Maitrim Cawthon and Perrin Ibra.
He's sowing seeds of destruction, giving Niall the soft underbelly of Rand's life to target.
And Niall finds him highly suspicious. He notes that Ordeith keeps too many secrets and pulls surprises like a gleeman. But suspicious or not, Niall uses the information.
Which is why Niall muses about striking at the Two Rivers when the snow's clear.
Exactly. That seemingly isolated home region, which hasn't seen war in centuries, is now firmly in the sights of the Lord Captain Commander, thanks to Wormwood.
This whole sequence, the compromised questioner, the dark friend informant, the calculated order to keep Rand alive, it just shows the incredible complexity of the global conspiracy. Rand isn't just fighting monsters in the mountains.
No, he's fighting human institutions twisted by the Shadow's reach. And his very existence is being used as a tool for political oppression. The stakes are immense, and they are converging.
Okay, so as the White Cloaks and the Shadow organize against Rand, our main party back in the Mountains of Mist finally discovers his flight.
And the pursuit begins. The urgency is immediate. Lon finds the broken trail, Rand's absence, and Moiraine realizes that Rand has done the one thing she feared most.
He's taken his destiny into his own untrained hands.
Yes, so Moiraine, Lon, Perrin, Loyal, and Min. They swiftly leave the mountains, heading east toward Terre, following Rand's trail.
The chase is on. But it's more than a chase, isn't it? It's a convergence.
It's convergence. The chase is on, but it's not just a pursuit. And as we leave the prologue in the first few chapters, we see all these other threads being woven in. The pattern is bringing everyone to the same place.
The ultimate impossible quest that Rand is rushing toward. The final terrifying piece of the puzzle that Perrin muses on. He thinks the stone would never fall to the Dragon Reborn held Kalandor. How in the light is he supposed to reach it inside a bloody fortress before the fortress falls? It is madness.
The madness of destiny. Rand has chosen the hardest possible path. The path straight into the most heavily fortified place on the planet, where all his enemies are waiting. And where the prophecy itself demands this simultaneous capture and destruction.
He is running toward a trap of his own making, guided by fate. And while he's focused on Tear and Kalandor, all these other pieces are moving on the board.
Exactly. And that's what we'll have to watch for as the book unfolds.
So, as you prepare to dive deeper into the next chapters of The Dragon Reborn, let's leave you with this final provocative thought. If the pattern is meant to force the Dragon Reborn to the right path, why did it ensure that the moment of his greatest triumph, the claiming of Kalandor, is also guaranteed to be the moment he is trapped and possibly betrayed?
The pattern may be weaving for victory, but the thread of doom is thick and visible, and Rand has to grasp both at the exact same moment.
Join us next time as we plunge into the storm within the Stone of Tear.